I'm undefeated. I came to fight for the love of the game. Unstoppable, that's why I'm undefeated. Off the leash, out of the cage, an animal. That's why I'm undefeated. I know I can beat it. Won't give up, 'cause I believe it. Fight for the love of the game. Unstoppable, that's right. I'm undefeated.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new show right here on the Undefeated Sports Network. You are tuned in live to the first ever episode of Into the Wrestleverse. With me, as always, is Angelo Ace Camacho.
Always.
Down below, we got our guy Vince Turtle Mucci, and our guy Kev. Looks like he popped out. He'll be joining us shortly. So, got a new show here on the network for all of the viewers, geared towards wrestling, specifically WWE and AEW. So, lots to talk about tonight. Glad that you joined us. Looks like Kev's in the studio with us now, so let's bring him in. What's up, Kev? How we doing tonight, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Oh, you know. Nah, I can't complain. How you boys doing?
Doing all right, man. It's been a long week already. Glad it's a short week for most of us with the holiday on Friday. So,
Oh yeah, it's a Good Friday, right? It's
Yes,
a bad
sir.
Friday. I don't know. Depends who you are.
You
Yeah,
guys,
bad
I'll
Friday.
be flipping burgers.
you fellas in the restaurant industry will still be working, but Tarbill will be sitting at home enjoying an extra
Well,
day
good.
off.
Enjoy it for me.
Yeah, me too, because I'll definitely be at work.
But this new show, man, is geared towards, like you said, Tarbill, wrestling fans. I don't think it's going to be all of us every week, but this is the first episode, so we decided to have everybody on here just to give our recap of WrestleMania. Obviously, WrestleMania is the biggest wrestling event of the year, every year, kind of like WWE Super Bowl. And we're just going to kind of recap it and go through a couple topics that we thought were interesting to talk about. And we'd love you guys to join us. So head over to our YouTube page, or Tarbo, how can they talk to us on Facebook?
Or go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and click allow for us to see your name and likeness in the comment section so we know who's talking to us. Takes 30 seconds and it'll be worth the engagement.
That's right.
With that being said, guys, let's dive right on into it. I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about this evening. Obviously, a lot's transpired over the 2 days of WrestleMania, and then obviously the Raw after Mania that was disappointing for most, to say the least. But let's go ahead and get right into it. So to start the show out, we have to talk about this news. Vince McMahon has sold the WWE to Endeavor, the parent company of the UFC. So I'm interested to hear from each of you what you think that means for the future of the organization. And also in parallel, bonus question, why does Vince McMahon have that mustache now?
All right, I'll go first. Not gonna lie, when it first happened, everything that I had read was that things were gonna stay the same. The hierarchy wasn't gonna change. Vince wasn't gonna be as involved as he was. Come to find out, that's
It was a
not
lie.
how it is. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man, because the last few months of WWE have been really engaging, especially storyline wise, and just things of like, it wasn't always just predictable, right? Triple H was involved with creative and making all the decisions, and it was, in my opinion, some of the best stuff that I have watched in probably close to 10, 15 years.
Since the Attitude Era, can we say that?
Probably in terms of like me being involved and my eyes on the product. But it turns out, I mean, I read an article today that said, for those of you that watched the Raw after Mania, it was not a good Raw after Mania. It was probably one of the worst I remember ever. No real surprise People came out, no big shocks. It was just kind of like a regular Raw in the middle of the year. I read an article, though, that said Endeavor wanted to see Vince run a show, and then they're going to watch NXT, see how Shawn Michaels runs NXT, and then Friday night Triple H is supposed to run SmackDown, and then they're going to make the decision on who they want to run creative for them. Now,
So Shawn Michaels is in the mix as
I don't think he's
potential
like a
front
true
runner for
contender
creative.
just because he runs NXT right now.
I feel like he's just more of a, okay, yeah, you did a good job. We're willing to let you keep running NXT.
Right, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So Vince, Kev, what's your thoughts on the sale?
I mean, I think a lot like Angelo said when it first broke. We were talking a little bit in our own chat. Like, I thought when they took over UFC, Dana White was left in charge. Things kind of stayed the same. The interesting thing, I was looking yesterday. I think it was yesterday or maybe earlier today. It had like the positions listed on Endeavor, and actually Dana White is listed as the same position as Nick Khan, whereas I thought he would be listed as the same as like Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
So that kind of explains why maybe some things are a little different than we thought they were going to play out. They've made Vince McMahon the executive chairman. Unless somebody steps in and says, "Hey, douchebag, get out of the way." Like, I don't know that I just think his ego is too big. We spoke on the WrestleMania show, and I said I don't think he's willing to step all over Triple H after how good he's done, and here it is that he is, because
It looks like he'll just do that, right?
What it looks like is when it looks like he stepped away to handle all that legal trouble, right? And then he heard all the bids for all the people that wanted to buy the company, and Endeavor was one that probably didn't care as much about all the legal stuff that he was going through.
Come out and said they don't care.
Right. And if you look at like Dana White with the UFC, he's been in trouble recently.
How Dana White just slapped his wife like
right.
a month ago, and
a lot of the fighters in UFC are in and out of trouble.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me that when they bought the company, and now Vince is putting himself back in charge, I guess. You know what I mean?
So
I think
that kind of shows what the organizational structure at Endeavor has in mind. Like, they don't care what you do. They're all about money, right? Ultimately, that's what it boils down to. You look at the Dana White incident. He got in trouble for slapping his wife on New Year's, and then he literally had a power slap league on TBS the next Thursday.
Right.
That's insane.
Honestly, though, how do you even turn down an offer of you bought the WWE? Well, it's WWF back then. Now it's WWE. But when he bought it, he bought it from $1 million. Dude, he sold it for $9.3 billion. How do you even?
So there's some, like, I saw that too, but some of that doesn't make sense because reportedly they bought 51%. So there's no way they bought 51% for $9.3 billion.
Right.
Because if that's what they were projected, whatever, valued. They were valued at $9.3 billion. So 49% is split up between the existing stockholders, and Endeavor now owns 51%. So there's no way they bought it for $9.3 billion. I saw that too. I saw it said that he bought it for $1 million and sold it for $9.3 billion. But
unless the evaluation of the company was nearly double that, it's not possible.
No, and the same article says that they were evaluated at $9.3 billion. That's how it makes the $21 billion organization for Endeavor between them and UFC.
Right.
I think for me, like, the disheartening thing is you hear, like we saw watching Raw, at least myself watching Raw unfold, you could tell it was a Vince McMahon Raw.
Yep.
And then all the reports that came out after about the rewrites, not just before the show, but
during the show.
The show, there's a viral video that's out there, the fan shot, and it's Seth Rollins, who is easily one of the 5 biggest faces or names, however you want to put it, in WWE.
He's probably one of the 5 biggest guys in wrestling right now.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would agree. And there's a fan shot video that's gone viral of him in the ring, and nobody knows for sure because it can't get confirmed, but what appears to be a production person informing him that his scene or his piece has been cut and trimmed very brief, and you see him he's finding out right before he goes on the microphone.
Yeah.
I wonder a lot of. Sorry, go ahead.
So I wonder if Jay White was supposed to be there, and that was the plan, and then because of all of this, that plan got nixed, and Rollins was out there already for a segment, and they couldn't figure out what to do, so they were just like, all right, well, we'll make this short. You stand out there in front of the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's Jay White because they never got as far as signing him.
Right.
So I doubt they would have had him in the plan for Raw. It just in Vince McMahon fashion, a lot of things change on the fly, and the first match of the night, Omos is in catering, not in his gear, and he's supposed to be in the ring. And it's like he finds out he's supposed to be fighting. Like he's like, wait, I didn't know that. And now he's got to run and go change and run out there. Like it just very much was disheartening to see, especially for the Raw after WrestleMania, because that's always the biggest Raw of the year. It's like another addition to WrestleMania. That's how big it is, and for it just absolutely sucked.
Yep.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Kev. What's your
I
thoughts?
was about to say, just to me, always growing up, you always anticipated, okay, back then it was always the one night of WrestleMania, but it almost seemed like we had a second night with Raw coming too. So now it's like nowadays we almost, anticipate we have 3 nights. This is gonna be one of the best weekends of the entire year. And they build it up so well, and then all of a sudden it's just like no returns, no big things happen. They had, Seth come out for 10 seconds to do a couple of, people singing his song. They send him to the back, and it just, to me, it was a pointless Raw that they had no direction yet. Like they had nowhere they were going with it.
Well, no, and usually they use that Raw as like a platform to set up everything rolling towards Backlash and SummerSlam and everything, and you got left with more questions than you did answers. Like a lot of stuff didn't even make sense that they had on the show, and a lot of stuff they didn't make a lot of sense that you didn't have a lot of those things, and but a lot of the things that you didn't have were stuff that Vince McMahon was not a fan of to begin with, or people that Triple H brought back since they got rid of them, and it just, I don't know. We could go on.
It spiraled out of control, right? I mean, they're at the forefront, as you said, changing matches and stuff during the event. That's such typical Vince McMahon, like, I'm going to take control and I'm going to try to seize this moment. And I'm sure in his head he's trying to make the best product possible, but it just doesn't translate on the mat, and you're left ultimately wondering why he made any of those changes to begin with.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't really connect with what the fans want anymore. And it was said that he wound up rewriting the end to Raw, and watching it very much is a Vince McMahon written ending.
So we got a comment here from Brandon in the chat. You guys didn't like how they opened and closed Raw?
So I like the way they opened it. I'll go first. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to jump.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
I like the way it opened. It started off very well. You're like, okay, we got this badass main event. I think a lot of people thought that mystery tag partner was going to be Jay White, but even with it not be, I still thought it was a great way to open up. Okay, we got a big time main event coming here at the end of the night, but then the end, and then going forward, it just all fell off after that. After the opening, you had a squash match, a couple of throw-ins. And then you didn't even get a main event. You just got Brock Lesnar beating up Cody Rhodes for like 10 minutes.
And the worst part about it is like how predictable really is that from the beginning to the end? Like you can't trust Brock. Like,
well, I mean, but if I'm being honest, man, I thought it was actually going to be a solid main event just because of the history between Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, Roman and Lesnar.
Right.
You know,
the
hey,
entire
we're gonna
bloodline, like
right, we're gonna win this match so that Cody can go on to Backlash and have his WWE championship
and
rematch.
I thought at some
Yeah,
point
but
you'd get like a Solo Sequoia and Brock Lesnar
Right.
square off, like
Right.
a lot of good spots. Like I really thought it was going to be the main event.
Honestly, I mean, it was a very, very intriguing main event. Like the
Right.
build-up to it, everything
Yeah.
was good, but like the fact is, like you kind of had Vince written all over it at the end there when Brock.
It was
just-
the absolute definition of a Vince McMahon
I
show,
do-
right? You're
I-
expecting one thing, and he goes completely oppo,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
it's even worse.
I do like the double middle fingers there at the end, though. That kind of got me.
So I
Yeah.
saw something
So-
about that. They said that he thought they had more time, and because there's one of the production crew getting involved, telling him. I guess they were basically telling because he went to go back to the ring, and I guess they told me that the show was about to end. So yeah, I guess that was from what I've heard, anyways. That's what that was about. Was his response to being out of time because he thought they had more time than they did. But I think it just was pretty fitting for the way the night went.
For real.
So
though.
Vince,
it
you
was
nailed
definitely-
that perfect with our comment here. Wes says, "What's the take on Lesnar coming back out and giving the double bird?"
I mean, to me, it kind of was how I felt what Vince was doing to the fans. Like
Right.
realistically,
Right.
one, look at this dude's face, right? We know you're old, dog. Like that don't fool nobody.
You got the
Two,
just
like-
for men charcoal up there.
Right, but two, it's like everybody all the way up to WrestleMania was so excited because of the work that Triple H had done leading up to it. All these
Right.
pay-per-views were great, the storylines were great, and then all of a sudden this stuff started bubbling, and then Raw came on and Triple H is in the ring saying this isn't how we wanted to start the Raw after Mania, but nothing's gonna change and this and that.
Fire.
And it was clear that it had changed 100%.
Right.
That it had changed back to Vince. And I don't know, to me personally, if I was Triple H, I don't really know. I mean, I know you make a lot of money. I don't know if that's something that I'd be interested in doing is riding Vince McMahon's coattails.
Yeah, I
So-
feel like there has to be something, and maybe it's like you said in the beginning that, and I haven't heard that report, but that's a very interesting report if it's true. The one that said you were talking about, you were referencing that Vince had Raw, Shawn will take NXT, and Triple H will take SmackDown. Maybe maybe it stays that way. Maybe that's how TV and creative is divided.
Right.
And then if it is, then at least we have SmackDown we can look forward to. But there has to be something there that's making him stay, other than just the money, right? Because I mean, he's got so much money right now from what
Right.
he makes and his stock in WWE and what.
And I'm sure he
made
would
off
still
his
get paid
sale.
for all the likenesses used.
Yeah, and all that stuff.
Right.
So, and not that he would go to AEW, but I don't know, maybe he would go to Freddie Prince's federation he's trying to get going. Maybe he would go there. So there's so many doors open for Triple H in this business that there has to
You
be
go work
something
with Jeff
keeping him
Jarrett.
there.
I'm joking. but-
So right here,
So we got a couple comments here,
Yeah.
guys, to address real quick. Brandon saying in the chat, "I think this is the start of Cody going through quote-unquote hard times. Brock destroying him last night builds sympathy around Cody.
so
Cody
I-
versus
I-
Brock is the first adversary along the road leading
Yeah.
up to the rematch against
So-
Roman."
I read, especially after the way that WrestleMania ended, and we can actually, if you guys want to jump into the actually WrestleMania, we
Yeah,
can.
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
But I think the way that it ended was similar to when Cena lost to The Rock at WrestleMania, and everybody kind of thought that Cena was going to win, right?
Yeah.
Rock's a part-timer, no shot that he wins, but he ends up winning. I think it's the same type of trajectory that they want to go on with Cody. Like Brandon said, build that sympathy, make him out to be, you know, just this guy that he's a try-hard guy, just like his dad. You know what I mean? Like he always comes up just short, just like his dad. And then at SummerSlam, do we see Roman Cody 2 and Cody takes the belt from him at SummerSlam? Possibly.
I mean, a lot of the reports I've seen is they're thinking much longer and like WrestleMania 40.
Yeah.
You know, so it could be a year full of
Roman.
I mean, a year full of Cody going through this hard road, which is, I just don't understand. Like, I get it, but at the same time, like, you know, they kind of did the same thing with Reigns. They did a few things where they gave him like these obstacles and these pitfalls that they had to get through. But it's like, if that's what you were going for, like, you easily could have just, why not make his road to WrestleMania full of that to build that matchup more? And you could have done it that way.
Right.
Yeah, but is it even like going to be Cody versus Reigns? Could it possibly be that they separate those titles before next year? Reigns keeps one.
Oh, absolutely.
Title goes somewhere else.
Absolutely, they could split them.
You know, I think Cody could get that title without even having to face Reigns somehow. You know, like they definitely got to split those titles before next Mania.
The only thing
I heard by SummerSlam they were hoping to.
Yeah, by SummerSlam they're hoping to split the titles, but that was prior to everything's changed.
Yeah, you know, prior to Vince.
Does Vince want everything to stay one title?
Yep.
You know, they teased that on Raw. They teased, and I know I'm kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but they're kind of teasing. Are they going to unify the women's titles and have one women's title too? They kind of teased that on Raw a little bit too. You know, you just, unfortunately with Vince, you don't know. And I think a lot of it was planned out before that. And now that he's taken back over, what changes and what stays, you know, maybe Cody's not long-term in the main event picture. Maybe he's like going to be a main eventer that doesn't get the title, or maybe he is going to get the title and we see that next WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Unfortunately, we just don't know where Vince is at with creative.
And it kind of makes you start to think back a little bit, you know, the last couple months, like maybe he had his finger on some of these things prior to this actual buyout, to the point where, like,
oh, I'm sure,
you know, like Sami Zayn, for instance, I feel like Triple H would have done the right thing and put Sami in the main event at WrestleMania with Roman and Cody. That's just what I think he would have done, because I think that's what the fans wanted. And we talked about this on the pre-show for WrestleMania that we did, where, you know, WrestleMania is usually the night or nights that the fans get what they've been wanting, right?
I think they did to a point, though, because you got Sami and KO, which fans wanted too. So, I think Sami's one of those things. Like, I feel like this whole Roman Cody thing was already like along the lines of where it was going. I heard Triple H, and it's hard to tell because, you know, Triple H is a soldier, man. He's never gonna go on camera and let you know that he wanted something different than what happened. But he did speak after. I don't know if any of you guys saw his press conference after the title match for night 2, but he said that we've closed this chapter of the Roman and Cody story, but we have a lot more to tell for this story. We're done with this chapter, but now we're going into the next chapter of this story. So it sounded like, if you can take for what he says to be true, that was the plan, was for Roman to win so that they could continue this story.
So let me ask you guys this. Obviously, there's been reports that Roman Reigns wants time off, and it would be an extended period of time, like 2 to 3 months, right? Not just a couple weeks here or there off. So how does that factor into the storyline here if Roman ends up being absent for a couple months?
You have Brock and Cody feud, and that's your main feud on Raw, and Roman's not needed until SummerSlam, and he still gets his break.
And that's another reason I feel like they have to split those titles, because then they can, put more of the focus on one of the titles that's actually there, whether it's Raw or SmackDown, and then Roman can have the other title take his hiatus from WWE for however long he needs to take it, and, building him back up to SummerSlam, just like you said. And, that, like I said, those titles got to be split sooner rather than later.
I think it all depends on, a big part is what's the plan for SmackDown. We've heard that Fox loses a crap ton of money in this deal for the rights to SmackDown. Obviously, if that's the case, I can't see them renewing at that same rate. It'll obviously go through Vince McMahon and Endeavor. Excuse me, but what's the future?
What's the future hold, I believe is what our guy Vince was going to say, but it looks like he's having some technical difficulties. So, for me, guys, I do have to say I enjoyed day 2 a little bit more than day 1 personally. I was able to watch more of day 2 than day 1 overall, but Ace, Kev, what's your thoughts day 1 versus day 2? Which was better, and to you, why?
Kevin, I'll let you go first.
Personally, I got to go with day 1, but that's only because I'm a giant Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn fan. The build-up with those two, the fact that they went through basically their whole career, they went from friends to enemies. Just kind of fun. Keeps coming full circle, and the fact that they actually won the titles off the Usos, which I did not predict. Honestly, I did not see that, to be honest with you. The fact that it did happen, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was almost fell out of my seat. So I got to go.
I don't know. I thought night 1 was good. I think it was more anticipated because of WrestleMania. It's the first night of WrestleMania. Everyone's hyped for it. I think it was pretty good. I loved the main event. I thought they told a great story in that match. It was poetic justice to have Sammy be the one to haluva kick Jay 3 times to end the match, because it was those two that were feuding for most of the time with the bloodline, with a little bit of internal feud. But night 2, there were some matches that were really good, some matches that I could tell Vince was kind of playing with. I thought I thought overall, if I had to pick a day, I would pick day 1, just because of the storylines that were there and the outcomes of those matches.
Vince, what do you got, brother?
I think day 1 was by far hands down better than day 2. I thought, and I know we keep talking about Vince, but I thought night 1 felt like a Triple H WrestleMania, and night 2 felt like a Vince McMahon WrestleMania.
Actually, now that you say that, my brother actually he called me last night, and he said he was reading an article that they said that they gave the role to Triple H night 1, night 2 to Vince, and I'm like, it kind of actually makes sense.
Yep. It wouldn't surprise me.
No, I mean, we heard that halfway through Raw, Vince McMahon took over Gorilla position on Raw as well. I just think, I thought the matches were really, really good on night 1. I'm trying to remember. Dominic and Ray was night 1.
No,
yes.
Was it night 1? I thought it was night 2.
It
was night 1. It
was night 1. I thought, that match was kind of, I thought it was just But for the most of the other matches, I thought were really good. Night 2, it had some good moments. It had some good spots, but I thought some of the matches really lacked what it could have been. I thought the Bianca Asuka match was horribly boring. I thought it was very Vince McMahon style, that Asuka put in all this offense and then out of nowhere Bianca Belair wins. Hits 2 moves and wins. I thought the Brock Lesnar Omos match, same thing. Omos puts in all this offense. Brock hits a German suplex in an F5 and wins. It's just, you build these guys up like Omos and some of these guys, you build them up to be these giants. And week after week after week, we saw Omos destroy Brock Lesnar on Raw. So you're like, okay, well, we finally have a legit, they're finally going to Omos the way he deserves to be, the way his body is. And what happens? You have just out of nowhere a German suplex F5 and he can't kick out of it. Like, it just, some of those things like I just don't understand. It's like almost, I almost feel like it's a waste of time watching those type of matches because it's like, I feel like it insults my intelligence of what I've seen for the last 6 weeks.
Right.
For sure. We got a comment here in the chat from Wesley. Just watch the Gunn Brothers come out to 50 Cent's Many Men on AEW, and it was better than anything on Raw.
I mean,
that sounds like a badass intro.
I was
Yeah, I
about
mean,
to say, wait a
it's a
minute.
good song. I like that song.
I'm a fan of 50 Cent, so I agree. Yeah, you know, the Raw was awful. I think we can all agree to that. So it's, I don't know. Like Vince said, I thought there were a lot of matches both nights that were subpar. I don't really think the build to this WrestleMania was that great. I think there were a lot of just thrown in matches just to get matches on the card. You know, Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins. What's the point?
I mean, at least they put on like a good show, right? Like they had a good show.
Right.
The matches
Right.
though that, you know, and I don't know if we were going to talk about, I know we're going to talk about some of the matches individually. Is the women's showcase tag match one of them?
Nope.
Okay, then I'll cover it here. I thought it was really dumb because anybody who's been a wrestling fan for any amount of time knows that a lot of matches, the outcome has changed on the fly because of injury or because of whatever.
Right.
I thought it was really odd that they stayed with the ending to the women's match. You've got Shayna, who you could see her grab her ankle
Yep.
when, I forget who flew out of the ring onto all of them, Natalia
Liv.
or somebody. Liv, yeah, when Raquel powerbomb Liv on everybody. You see her go down and grab her ankle right away. You don't see her again. You know Ronda Rousey's had a broken arm, and she's been dealing with that. And then you have a what really was a good match, and then out of nowhere you have Shayna Baszler come limping into the ring with one shoe on.
Yeah.
Because the year after the match that she spent from that spot on, she spent the entire time out of the ring with her shoe off. And to see her limp in, do a move, and then Ronda come in and slap on the armbar and get the win, which then they talked about, oh, well, that makes them the number one contender, blah, blah, blah. To then the next night on Raw, having a random tag match that was for the number one contender.
Right.
But never addressed the issue. Like, they even could have said, oh, they were injured in the win, but they don't do that. They just leave these open things. So I thought it really threw off WrestleMania to have these random four-way tag matches that in the end really didn't mean anything.
Right. And then you look at Raw and you see Trish and Lita and Becky, they had nothing to do because they decided to end that match at WrestleMania the way they did. So they had to go back and fix it on Monday night, which was probably a segment that was supposed to be built for that rivalry or whatever to get built.
Well, and then you see that and I know it's more about Raw than WrestleMania, and then you see somebody like Bayley and Damage Control not even on the next night's Raw. Like,
right. Yep.
You know, I don't know. It just really leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Speaking of Bailey, I was, I having with my brother yesterday that reading Bailey kind of up keeping her and like how they're putting her into these BS matches when she's definitely a main role type player. And she's definitely not being perceived that way. People are looking at her as like, what are they doing with her? What's her next step? She hasn't even had one single I don't
think she's had a win since she's been back.
One, I think, against Bianca.
Yeah, they had that one random win, and we saw this before when Vince was in charge. He fell out of favor with Bayley, or Bayley fell out of favor with him. Whatever, he just stopped the push for her. And I think Kev's mic broke up a little bit at the beginning, but he was speaking about, I saw the same report that Bayley is talking about leaving WWE. Yep. She'd rather go somewhere else for less money and have that spot. And it's funny, because AEW now, I mean, with who owns them, like they can offer more money than WWE or just as much. Like, they both, it's really, WWE and AEW both really have unlimited funds. So they could, now it becomes about who's going to get pushed where and what's worth it for them. And, somebody like Bailey, she's really good in the ring. She's really good on the microphone.
The mic is the best. Personally, I love how her character had developed. You know what I mean? Like from NXT Bailey, where she was the hugger and this and that.
Right.
Nobody thought she would be able to turn that off and become a heel. And she did. And I thought she became a pretty good heel. I think she became one of the better heels of the women's division.
Yeah.
And you build that character up, the ding dong hello, I thought was a fantastic thing for her because she reminds me of Seth Rollins, right? Where she's so good that she doesn't need the title.
Right.
But every segment that she was on was great.
Yeah.
And then, she gets hurt, she's gone for a while, comes back, and it just never seemed to really get going. The damage control thing, like, I understand putting her with two young stars that weren't with the company that got signed back when Triple H took over. And now it makes sense. Like, okay, hey, we're going to bring you in to mentor these two.
Right.
But now we're going to change the hierarchy of the people that brought you in.
Right.
The people that brought you in are the same people that cut the two people you're supposed to be mentoring and building up. And
we, or at least I heard partway through this whole thing that Bailey had actually pitched that same damage control faction to Vince, and he passed on it. He didn't want to do it, and ultimately wound up releasing EO and Dakota anyways.
So guys, before we get into the second half of the show, let's go ahead and take a quick 30-second break before we start breaking down these individual matches. But I do just have to say one thing. We've made it 37 minutes into our first show, fellas, and I have yet to mention Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's right.
So with that being said, I think what WrestleMania was missing was a surprise walkout by Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I will leave you guys for the break with that note.
I'm undefeated. I came to fight for the love of the game. Unstoppable. That's why I'm undefeated. Off the leash, out of the cage, an animal. That's why I'm undefeated. I know I can beat it. Won't give up, 'cause I believe it. Fight for the love of the game. Unstoppable. That's right. I'm undefeated.
And we are back with you guys right here on USN's commemorative episode of Into the Wrestleverse. I am Andrew Tarbill. To my left is our guy Angelo Ace Camacho. Down below, we've got Turtle and Kev. And we're talking specifically what went down on WrestleMania and the outcomes of the matches. So we're going to dive right into the first prominent match that we really want to talk about here, guys.
Oh, I got to start this one.
Edge defeating Demon Finn. What was the point? And Kev, I know you're probably hot on this one, so go ahead and go first, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, man. Yeah,
you're good. Go ahead.
All right. Well, anyway, growing up, Edge was my favorite, one of my favorite wrestlers. So, but yeah, I think the reason that Finn Balor lost this match, and truthfully, I don't think he was meant to lose this match, but I do think that it happened when that ladder hit him in the head and he started gushing blood, and they had to actually inject him with something ringside and put staples in his head ringside. And I think that truthfully, they even begged him to call off the match right there, and Edge was going to win via that way. But he said no, he wanted to finish the match. And if you didn't notice that towards the end of the match, it was kind of rushed a little bit, it seemed. Yeah. And it was most definitely because he was either concussed, very badly hurt, whatever. And I truthfully think that that's the reason he lost that match. They had to give that to Edge at that point.
Do you like the decision for Edge to win?
Do I like it? I don't. I don't think they should have brought the Demon out just to have him lose. I do not. I disagree with that highly.
So I agree with you, Kev. I think going into the match, Finn was supposed to win. I don't see why Edge needed this win, why Edge should have had this win. I don't think Edge wanted this win.
Right.
I think because, going into what I know about his return, in his contract, he stated he did not want to become champion.
Right.
because he did not want to take the title from the younger guys. He wanted to build the roster and make them better. And that's kind of what he did. I mean, if you look at WrestleMania, it was the perfect opportunity for them to build a faction in the Judgment Day that could have carried the company for 8, 12, 16 months of storylines with, just the dominance of them. You got Rhea who won the title. You got Dom who should have beat Ray. I know that the fans wanted Ray to win. I don't know. I think I get it now because they're setting up a match between Ray and Bad Bunny and Dominic and Damian Priest at Backlash, which whatever, it's fine. I don't really care. But I think if you look at the Hell in a Cell match, Triple H did a great job of kind of just ignoring anything to do with the Hell in a Cell, except for this match. They brought this match up. You had two characters in Edge who, he had some fantastic Hell in a Cell matches in his career. Ballard, I don't think, has ever been in one, but you bring the Demon out and you're setting up a scenario where this match should have been fantastic, right? The ladder shot to the head. I agree with Kev. I think it screwed everything up. I think they didn't know what to do. I think that ending was just kind of like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to end. No improv, nothing.
They had to cut it short, dude.
Right.
They definitely, I read a lot of reports and saw stuff about that too. They definitely cut it short and kind of rushed right to the end in ending. And we'll never really know if Edge was supposed to win. It doesn't. If he was, it just doesn't make any sense. I can't see any reason why he would win. And like I said, like you guys both spoke on, they actually the scene where Edge is pulling all the weapons out from under the ring, they're actually, like Kev said, injecting Finn and stapling his head closed.
Yeah,
he got 14 staples in his head. It's one of probably the only time I can ever remember hearing about somebody getting stapled in the middle of the match and then continuing the match. They, like Kev said too, they tried to convince Finn to end the match and not even go back out there, and he went back out there and just wasn't willing to just end the match like that. So I think they just rushed to the end however they could end it. It reminded me of years ago, Triple H and Kevin Nash in Hell in a Cell, when Nash blew out his quad or his knee, whatever it was, and all of a sudden the match just ended. It went to an ending of Triple H pinning him. Same type of thing. Like there was nothing else they could do. It's not like he could take any bumps with the staples in his head.
There was nothing you can do in that scenario that was going to allow that match to continue at the pace that it was supposed to continue. There's no, I don't care who you are. They were going to end up on top of that cage.
Right.
There was,
for sure,
without a doubt, that was going to happen. Now, I want to show the picture of Finn's head. So if you have a squeamish stomach, I would, look away. So that's,
it's already up there.
That is the picture of Finn's head after he took a ladder. I know people, wrestling's fake. That's a pretty real giant gash on his head, if you ask me. But
you go gash your head.
Yeah.
Right.
I kind of wish that it didn't happen the way it happened. Unfortunately, it was at WrestleMania in a Hell in a Cell match. The Demon was there. Like, you had to continue that match and have a conclusion to it.
Right.
I don't know. I think it would have been, they could have did something better where all of a sudden, boom, that happens to him and just something triggers in Finn. Finn starts to go insane against Edge and then just destroys him and wins.
That would have been the better ending.
I think, the problem, though, is the same thing. Like, as your adrenaline gets going, your blood starts going.
Right.
Like, and they might have been afraid that had he done anything, exerting energy of any kind, might have caused that injury to, split back open or do anything. It might have been one of those things like nobody was prepared for that.
Right. And I mean, you got to think of concussions and that kind of
everything
stuff as
else.
well. Like, there's a lot of things that played as factors in that match that unfortunately I think I think that match had the potential to be the best match
Yeah,
of WrestleMania
absolutely.
just because of the storyline that was
Yeah,
built
and
up.
the way the match was up until that point, like it
Right.
was so physical and so nonstop.
Yep.
You know, you had the Demon, you had the special edge entrance, you had the first time we've seen the Demon with purple for Judgment Day.
Now let me tell you this. One thing I despised about that match was the purple and red kendo sticks, tables, and chairs.
Yeah,
It made it
yeah,
look
absolutely.
so. It was kind of like that Bray Wyatt Mountain Dew match.
yeah.
Where like it would have been
for him and LA
cool,
Knight.
except they put Mountain Dew everywhere. They put the
Right.
logo for Mountain Dew all over the place.
Right.
Like it takes away the seriousness of the
Yeah.
moment. You know what I mean? You have
Right.
you have these two guys who want to rip each other's heads off, and
Right.
then one dude pulls out a red chair, the guy who comes out to red lights and fire, and then you have the other guy who has purple paint and purple spikes come grab a purple
Yeah.
kendo stick, and it's like, come on, man, that's so ridiculous.
Well, and like I think too, like we all were like, oh, they really made a great decision going back to the original structure for Hell in a Cell. And then you see all this red stuff, and you're like, wait, is that the only reason they changed it was because of all this red stuff? They didn't want the red cell with the red tables and everything. Like,
Was it
So-
They didn't want to overwhelm it and make it look like a 5-year-old drew on everything
yeah,
too much.
I definitely think the Demon was going to win this match, and they just, at least I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. and
It sucks
say-
because I really want to see how that match would have played out, and we're not going to get it because
I would love and I'm torn because I like that they only bring him out for special things, but at the same time, like I know they won't because of his role with Judgment Day, but I would love a full-time Demon.
So you know what I was kind of thinking is they could have started an almost like a 20-0 Undertaker type, streak
with the
him,
Demon.
because they barely bring him out. They
Right.
don't see him very much, and he
Only bring him out at WrestleMania.
And now it's like, what's next for the Demon after this loss? Like
This
Right.
is the second straight loss he's had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it
He
shouldn't
came
be
out
this
as the
way.
Demon against Roman
Right.
and lost, and then he
Right.
just lost to Edge. So I mean, this thought of, okay, I go into this other character, this alternate personality that I pull out because of the Demon and the paint and the music, which was awesome that they went to the old Finn music for
Yeah.
the Demon. I'm so glad they did that because that was a moment for the fans, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
You look at
absolutely.
that, and the only reason they did that was for the arms
Right.
in the air and to get that shot of him on the stage with everybody doing it.
Mhm.
Right.
It was just set up so well for such a lackluster finish because
Yeah.
of an injury.
Right.
I agree, boys. Let's go ahead and jump right into the next match here. So looks
My
like
finger
our
hit
guy-
it a little bit too fast, so we'll go with this one.
Yeah.
Now, let's do this one first.
All right. Is this prime? Did Logan Paul prove that he belongs in the WWE? I am going to start with this one, guys, and say that Logan Paul, to me, no one expected anything out of him as a technically sound wrestler, as someone that can put on a performance. I think Logan Paul has made strides since he joined the WWE in his technical ability as a wrestler. I think his mic work still needs some work. But with that being said, I was actually, I don't want to say blown away, but I was impressed with this Logan Paul and Seth Rollins matchup. What do you guys think?
So I thought it was one of the top, I think it was top 3 matches of the night, matches of the weekend, personally, just because
Okay.
of how much went into that match. They were doing things that guys that have been on the roster for 15 years can't do. Logan Paul, I cannot stand the Paul brothers as the Paul brothers, right? As a wrestling fan, I can watch him and understand that he is a heel and that the antics he does are to improve and push his character, right? So this
Right.
douchey guy on TV, and then he brings his what the hell is his show called?
Impulsive.
Yeah, impulsive
Impulsive.
onto Raw, and it was awful, but it was awful because he's Logan Paul. Then you're at WrestleMania, and he's out here coming out of the rafters like Shawn Michaels, and I think it was just entertaining. I think Seth Rollins is. I know Turtle said that he thinks he's top 5 in WWE. I think Seth Rollins, if you look at the body of work, I think dude is the best performer right now in wrestling. And he truly does remind me a lot of Shawn Michaels towards the latter part of his career, where he doesn't necessarily need the title to be important. And you've seen that for a year, 2 years. He doesn't need the title to have people focus on him. And he's putting on these great matches with anybody he's in the ring with. It doesn't matter who you are. Shawn Michaels used to be able to do that with like Shelton Benjamin or Rey Mysterio, and he was having some of the great matches. And now you're looking at Seth, who's just on a completely different level. He's fighting KO. He's fighting Cody Rhodes. He's fighting Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory. Like, he's putting these guys over. In the Elimination Chamber, Montez Ford, Seth Rollins and him, they had a great exchange. He is just on another trajectory. And you put both of those two guys together, you know, you have on the turnbuckle, Seth is on the table, drinking the prime and shoots it in the air. And Seth pulls, what's his name, onto the table. Yeah. Goes and Paul goes through the table, and it was great. I thought it was one of the top 3 matches of the night.
So I will not argue you about Seth being the best in-ring performer or performer in general in all of wrestling today. I think there's a lot of what you said plus some to back that up as being true. I think as far as the match goes, it was an incredible match, one of the best at WrestleMania. If you go to Logan Paul's match against Roman, it was a great match, way better than anybody thought. His spot at the Royal Rumble with him and Ricochet, I think that match did two things for me. One, it reconfirmed for me that Seth could have a 5-star match with a freaking mop.
Yep.
And
I think you said that in the pre-show.
Like, the dude is just so talented in every aspect, from the mic to the in-ring work to
his character development,
the crowd interaction, the connection. I saw him at a house show in Rockford. The dude is just on another level in every part of his game, which, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, if Triple H picked this dude out as the future of the company, like, it makes sense. As far as Logan Paul goes, I think the dude is just stupid athletic and gifted when it comes to, he's willing to do anything and go through tables and all this other stuff. I think the thing that it also did for me was it made me realize dude is not a full-time wrestler, and I don't think he ever will be. I think there's times, even in that match, as great as the match was, that he seems lost and not sure what to do next. I think some of the times where he's got the control in the match and where you saw like Seth was down, he didn't necessarily know what to do, or I don't know if he lost his place in the script or what it was, but he just seemed like he was a deer in headlights at times. And I think the match was just so good because, one, Logan's so athletic, and two, Seth is just so good at having that kind of match with whoever he's in the ring with. Right.
And like, I can't give enough praise to Seth Rollins, man. Shawn Michaels made Ric Flair,
right,
a 60-year-old Ric Flair, look like a guy who had a legit chance at winning a match for his last match of his career. Well,
and I think you said it really good too. One of the things you said was in the comparison to him and Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels was one of my favorite, if not my favorite, growing up. I know I see the same thing, and you kind of mentioned it. It doesn't matter if it's a guy smaller than him, a guy bigger than him, a guy way bigger than him, a dude that barely moves, a dude that is super athletic. Like, he just knows how to adjust to have a 5-star match, right, whoever it is, whatever type of person, character, and athleticism that person has. It doesn't really matter.
It's just natural for him in the ring. He just understands. Right. It really does Shawn Michaels and Triple H come to mind in terms of
Right.
the development of him as a performer all the way back into NXT with the blonde streak in his hair.
Mhm.
And now,
Right.
then he gets rid of the blonde streak because he wants to be taken serious. Now his character is this goofy, over the top guy who, is he face? Is he heel?
Right.
It doesn't matter because the crowd eats it up either way, and
Right.
I don't know. I could talk about Seth Rollins
For
all
hours.
night if I needed to. But I think that he proved, to me at least, I think he deserves to be in the title picture. I wouldn't mind seeing Rollins Reigns at SummerSlam personally.
I'll even go as far to say as Rollins should be considered as one of the men who takes Reigns down.
I would
or
agree.
At least take one of those titles
absolutely.
off.
And if you remember at Royal Rumble, it was not this past Royal Rumble, the one before that, the 2 years ago in St. Louis.
Yeah.
He beat Reigns by disqualification,
Yeah.
or he lost by disqualification.
Yeah.
Like he didn't, so they could always bring that up as part of the story that, he only Seth actually got the win versus him. It wasn't for the title, but because of disqualification, but he did beat him.
Just the history between those two.
Yeah.
Even if you held off until next year's WrestleMania and made that the main event, I think that would be one of the best main events in WrestleMania history. Period.
And the way the dude the way he comes out to his attire versus who he's fighting, like he came out in that Royal Rumble, he came out in the Shield music, the Shield music and gear. Against Cody, he had the polka dots and all these different things that he's done with his attire to kind of throw shade at who he's fighting. Like it's just another level of his
cerebral part of wrestling that not many people understand. And
we got a comment here from Alex in the chat, guys. Did we see the interview with Rollins about how he feels with Cody?
So I didn't watch the interview, but I heard that they do not really enjoy each other.
Right.
But to the point we just made, right? They don't like each other, and whatever, if it's real or not, you take it with a grain of salt. But if it is, and they truly have this animosity towards each other, they were still able to put on 3 fantastic matches and just tear the house down because of how good Seth Rollins is.
Right.
We're gonna get into the Cody Rhodes thing here next, and I personally think that Seth carried the majority of those matches.
Absolutely.
Especially the Hell in a
3
Cell.
matches.
Right. Especially the Hell in a Cell. But without Rollins, Cody doesn't look as strong as he looked. Cody tearing his pec off the bone. That's badass. And he looks like this ass kicker who's got a messed up. He's out there with Seth Rollins carried that entire match.
Yeah.
If that was anybody else in that match would have been awful. But Seth Rollins was able to perform so well that people almost forgot that Cody was really, truly injured in that match.
Well, and I think there's 2 things as far as the animosity between them. The thing about Seth, one, he's always going to have Triple H's back.
Yep.
And let's not forget, in AEW, Cody shattered the throne.
Yep.
As a knock at Triple H
with the sledgehammer.
So that clearly was going to bring up animosity between the 2 of them because Seth is the ultimate soldier to Triple H, but also that cerebral part of his character, like you said, is he's never out of character.
Right.
So whether it's an interview in street clothes or as Seth Rollins, the performer, whatever, he's always going to have that character in mind of, I'm throwing shade at this guy, whether I really feel that way or not. It's best for me to say it for characters wise. So that's what I'm going to do. The dude is 24/7 this business.
And the gist of the interview, I think, was just somebody asked him about Cody being put right into the main event of WrestleMania. Oh yeah, right here. Yep. And here's the thing about that, and I understand Rollins getting upset about it, but the point of Cody coming back was to eventually face Roman Reigns.
Right. Like
He
that
was
that was a
supposed to be
given
that
when he
guy.
came back.
Right.
So
Now-
let's transition right into that topic, Ace,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
and go into Roman versus Cody. What was the point of Roman Reigns defeating Cody Rhodes? There was not one, in my opinion, but let's hear what you guys who are a little more educated on the sport think.
So I think that ending got changed. I think Vince told them, "Hey, we want to get Roman to 1,000 days or more."
I did not tell them that.
Me? No, not you.
Uh,
Vince
oh,
McMahon.
Vince
I gotcha.
McMahon.
I call you Turtle.
I
I call
know.
you Turtle. But I think I lost my train of thought. I was reading
Sorry.
a comment. No, it's all right. I think Vince changed the ending of that because how hot Roman is right now. I think you're looking at a guy in Roman Reigns that is doing something that's never been done in modern wrestling. You've had long extended reigns like CM Punk and a couple of other guys, but like John Cena held the title for a while when he was coming up. But what Roman has done, if you look back at his career, starting as the quiet ass kicker of the Shield, right? Then he starts to talk a little more, but he doesn't really make a lot of sense. He doesn't sound good on the mic, sounds out of place. Then he's force fed to the entire fan base. WrestleMania after WrestleMania after WrestleMania, we are going to push this dude down your throat to make you like him. And it didn't work. The fans knew that that's what was happening, and they said, nah, we're not going to buy into it no matter how much you want us to. Then he gets leukemia again, which it's awful. But I don't want to say it was like a blessing in disguise, but I think
But it was.
right. But I think what that did for him was it cooled him down from the fans' perspective. They felt more human towards him. Like, oh shit, like this is serious. Like we beef on this guy in the ring, but at the end of the day, he's still just a human, you know?
Right.
And they wanted to see him succeed in that role. Then he succeeds in that role, right? Then he comes back with this badass gimmick of I'm just going to go and I'm just going to beat everybody. I'm going to spear the shit out of the Fiend and cost the titles and I'm going to come in and kick ass and leave, kind of like Stone Cold.
Wreck everyone and leave.
Right, wreck everyone and leave. And then you build a storyline between him and his cousins, and then you throw a guy like Paul Heyman, who's got so much credential because of the connection he had with Brock Lesnar. Lesnar's the main guy. You throw Paul with Roman, that automatically makes him on that same level. I just think the match itself was good. I think they had no choice really but to have Roman keep the titles. If they weren't going to have Sami Zayn beat him, I don't think Cody was the guy to do it.
Well, I think it's twofold. I think having Roman win, it continues this. If Roman doesn't have the titles and he's not the guy, then all of his feuds with whether it's with the Usos or whoever the next feuds are, don't mean as much. So having him hold on to that title and be the guy, it continues that. It establishes him as, you keep saying, well, who can beat him? Who is there left for him to beat? But it also does the long-term storytelling of Cody Rhodes and his heartbreak of losing at WrestleMania to then double the triumph when he finally does win at WrestleMania, whoever it's over, whether that's Roman, whether it's somebody else. It just makes that win that much more of a big deal after the loss. So I think, and listening to Triple H talk about it afterwards, I think the plan was for Roman to win. I think that was Triple H's plan too. I don't think that was something that changed because of Vince. We'll never know for sure. But it just, listening to Triple H talk about it, they've talked about these long title reigns. He talked about what this reign no pun intended, but what this reign has done for Roman, what Bianca Belair's reign has done for her, what Gunther's reign has done for him. They've made them established stars,
Right.
not just champions, but people that you truly feel are game changers. So I think that just goes into that with why Roman won this match.
I'm gonna go all the way back to the Royal Rumble with this one. I think that a partial reason that they're having Roman Reigns, continue this big long title reign is because I just lost my train of thought, guys. It just went away.
That's right. I do it all the time.
Dude,
Yeah.
And I
happens-
just ramble
happens to
until
the
I
best of
remember
us.
what it was, and then I'm
Yeah.
back at it. Like,
We just babble, and then all of a
That's
sudden
right.
we're like, oh, yeah, that's it.
But anyway, the reason I think that he's going to continue this reign, or that they want him to continue this reign, is that when Cody Rhodes came back at the Rumble, they honestly had no idea where they were going to go with it. I think this match was supposed to happen a long time ago. Due to that injury, it did not happen. And honestly,
Okay.
the loss was probably supposed to even happen maybe even last WrestleMania, not even this one. So my thing is they, building up to it, they were probably even thinking, you know what, we're going to give this to Cody. It's Cody's time. He's definitely over with the fans, stuff like that. And finally, when the night actually came, or when it actually came down to that moment, I think they thought, are we ever going to see a historic title reign like this ever again in our lives? Is it ever going to be a thing like this? Because I honestly think that this is it for us guys. Like, whenever Roman does lose those titles, we're never going to see 1,000 days again. I don't think
probably
we're
not
gonna see that out
in
of any
modern
superstar.
history.
Probably not. No.
But our guy Tarbill has to take off. Listen, wrestling. I've been a fan since I was knee high.
Yeah,
I
real.
could talk wrestling forever. We're gonna let Tarbill take off. I, for once, am gonna drive the car of this WrestleMania show.
Oh boy.
I had to switch hats. I got my more professional, the Bulls hat. Now that they're in the play-in, like now I'm focused and ready to go. So Tarbill, man, I don't really need you, so you can leave.
Dang.
Wow. Ouch.
Oh.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, I appreciate it, fellas. I'll be back with you guys next week. I wish
Hey.
I was able to sit here and wrap up the show, but
We still got a few topics, and I know you got to get going.
Usually don't leave me and Angelo unsupervised.
Unsupervised, right? Yeah, we're like
So-
the kids, and we just terrorize the house when you're
Right.
I'll be listening in the car while I'm driving to the rest of the show. So I will have a report back with how you guys handled each other unsupervised.
I may have somebody jumping on. He's a fan of wrestling as well. He wants to kind of give his thoughts. I'm not opposed to it. I did it with another network that I was dealing with before. That's how Tarbill and I met, actually. And, why not? Why not give somebody out there an opportunity to come on here and chit-chat? So, Tarbill, hey, man.
Absolutely.
Have a
All
good
right,
night.
guys,
Drive
it's been
safe,
fun.
brother.
I'll see you next week, boys.
Later, bro.
Bye.
Good to see you, man.
All right. So, Roman and Cody, final thoughts on that. Let's wrap that topic up. What do you guys think happens going forward with this whole feud?
I think they go separate to then come back later.
Yep.
In like at WrestleMania?
Yeah, probably next WrestleMania. I think we see Cody go on this John Cena like adventure of overcoming these great odds and these heartaches and coming over all of them to triumph at WrestleMania. And I think we see Roman maybe take some time off and then kind of smash a few people along the way to WrestleMania. And yeah.
I agree. I think maybe not for I don't know. I don't see how you don't give Cody the title. I feel like that was something for him to come back. Hey, I want to make this right for my family's legacy. Right. I want the championship. I do think what Kev said earlier about splitting the titles, I don't necessarily know if they're going to split them, but I think they're going to bring back the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
I think they're going to keep the one. They're going to combine those two belts into one, make it the WWE Universal Championship.
Yeah.
And then have the World Heavyweight Championship back. Whether it's the big gold belt or a different design.
Well, and don't forget, we've heard that Triple H approved a new title.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you guys didn't hear that, there's a new title looming out there.
Yeah.
And what it is, who knows? Hopefully it's nothing like the 24/7. We don't need another one of those.
Yo,
that was the worst.
That's a topic for a whole nother show. But so poorly done.
Yeah,
So
it was
poorly done.
horribly written, horribly done.
Yeah.
They talked about it like it was going to be like the next big thing in WWE, and then it just became one of the biggest jobber titles I've ever
Yep.
seen
Right.
in my life, dude.
All right, now on to my favorite part of WrestleMania.
Rhea, it's got to be. I knew it.
It had
Rhea-
to be. When he
It
said his
was. There was
favorite,
only
it had-
one way it could have ended for me here, and that's Rhea, Bloody, Ripley.
Now I gotta say something here, man. I do like the fact that if you guys did not notice, on the floor of outside the ring, you had Charlotte Flair sitting there with a smile on her face, looking
Yep.
up at Rhea like, "Dude,
Yeah.
I'm happy for you. This moment
and she
is
had
yours.
she
You
had a really
deserve it."
good press conference afterwards
Yep.
too. She really put over Rhea.
and
Yeah,
she
I
on social
loved it.
media also.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I
She
really
went on
did.
social media and said, because here's the thing, right? With Charlotte's career is Hall of Fame.
Right.
She
Absolutely.
could never wrestle again,
Right.
and she will go into the Hall of
And
Fame.
she
as
may
one
not.
right, and she would go into the Hall of Fame as one of the greatest female, maybe
The
just
greatest.
regular
Right.
superstars in WWE history.
Yeah.
But she's definitely going to go in as one of
Yeah.
top 3 female performers of all time. And for a woman who didn't really want to be a wrestler, who only became a wrestler so that her and her late brother Reed could have something that they were
Right.
enjoyed together, and then he passes and she just goes all in with it.
Right.
I mean, she is fantastic. But then you look on the other side of the ring at Rhea Bloody Ripley, right? And you see a woman who, think back to her time in NXT UK, right? That's where she was introduced. No, I think it was that women's tournament. Wasn't there like some
the Mae Young?
yeah, the Mae Young tournament or something that was
Right.
on the network
Yeah.
that was just all women competitors. So she was on there. That's how she got noticed. Went to NXT UK, won the title, held the title for a minute over
Mhm.
there. Comes to regular NXT, becomes the NXT Women's Champion.
Led the
Then-
War Games.
Right. Then goes on to face Charlotte as the NXT Women's Champion at WrestleMania, right when COVID starts.
Right.
And Charlotte takes the title off her, which I didn't understand then, because I didn't understand why you needed to give Charlotte the title, because it was just the NXT Women's title. She had already been
NXT champion.
big time, right? NXT champion and then big time champion
Right.
after NXT. But now you get to a point where Rhea is just on fire. She is one of the hottest superstars, and I'm talking in terms of like storyline and
Mhm.
character building right now. I think the Judgment Day was the best thing that could have happened to her. I think it saved her career because she was just floundering in the tag division with Liv Morgan and nothing was really happening. I think this moment is a moment that is going to propel. It should have propelled the Judgment Day because the other members should have won. But this is going to propel her to be the top woman in the company for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think as far as a top player, I think unfortunately with the changes going on in WWE, we won't know until we see how it plays out. I think Triple H had a lot to do with resurrecting her career. He's always been a fan of her work in the ring. There was no better story than for her to exercise that demon than beating Charlotte, the one who's always had her number.
Yeah.
There was nobody better for her to beat for that title. It should be a long title run. She's very much the best thing in women's wrestling today.
Mm-hmm.
And as like you said, the hottest momentum going forward. I don't know what happens with Judgment Day
Well, we have a comment from one of the listeners. He thinks that the Judgment Day breaks up after all this.
I kind of think so too. I mean, I think they've kind of cooled on that, especially as things shift in power in WWE. I think Rhea will be focused as a single entity versus part of a group. Whether that is how it goes or not, that's just how I think it's going to happen.
Also,
But go ahead.
with Finn being out, with that injury with 14 staples, how long is he going to be out for? He's
Right.
the biggest part of Judgment Day, if you ask me, aside
Right.
from Rhea. And if he's gone, that's a big staple in that group right there. So it's like,
No pun intended, right?
yeah, pretty much.
I get it.
It's
Yeah, I think I think they're gonna really push her single, with all the focus and momentum on her. Hopefully that doesn't change with the shift in power. Because I think it's well deserved. I think she is that somebody who can carry the women's division for a long time.
So back to
I
the main
agree.
question at hand, did Ripley win solidify her as a top player moving forward? I think absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Without a doubt.
She's
I
gonna
think
carry
it's
this division. Her and Bianca, I think, are the two big things right now. Like they're
So-
carrying the division.
I like Bianca's character. I like what they're doing with her in terms of empowering women and all that. Like that's her thing. I'm going to
I
empower
love
other
that
women.
part of it.
Right. I just don't. I don't
got 5
believe
moves.
her. Right. She doesn't. Now
But
I will
didn't
say
Cena
this.
have
I
like
think
5 moves.
yes, but I
Yeah.
do think
I
that
don't like him in the ring either.
I think that that the Asuka match really kind of put her in another gear. She had to overcome something she never really had to. And yes, I know, like you said earlier in the show, Turtle, where she was getting destroyed and then hits the finisher and that's it. And I'm hoping that they build a little bit more with Asuka and her. I think you can have a couple good matches in the next few months.
She reminds me a lot of prime John Cena when he would get destroyed for the match and then that unhuman like strength would take over and he would just lift somebody that you didn't think he could or do something. First off, her lifting Asuka weighs like 100 pounds.
Right.
Like it's not like she lifted Nia Jax or somebody. Like it's Asuka. I think she's very stiff in the ring. Like I just think her in ring is not anywhere near as entertaining as the character is. I love the character and what she does as far as out of the ring, speaking at women's clubs, speaking at youth clubs, what she did for that little girl in her entrance. For those who didn't hear, that little girl that came out with her was down the ramp with her. Her mother passed away. I don't know if it was that morning or the night before, one or the other. For what she did for her, like awesome.
Right.
Like
And
you
one
said,
of the worst moments of that
I
little
love
girl's
everything
life.
about her character. I just wish she was a little more developed in the ring.
She's just very stiff.
Right.
And you can tell, like, when she fights other people who are stiff, it's awful.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Terrible.
Sometimes I feel the WWE falls into, and especially Vince McMahon, they fall into these. Well, I love the powerhouse.
Yep.
Those days are gone. Like the true powerhouses don't do anything anymore because
they're just a gimmick.
Right. There's so many more advanced wrestlers. And I almost feel like because she's so athletic as well, like I feel like if she was allowed to have more of a wider arsenal of moves or whatever resume of moves, whatever you call it, like I feel like she would be much better. But I feel like they stick her in this box of being so strong.
And then
I agree.
With Asuka, was just talking about this Bianca Asuka thing. I just think that they tried to bring back or perceive the Asuka of old, the one that won that, that had that 2-year streak in WWE where she wasn't losing and whatever. Yeah. At least that's what I thought they were perceiving her as, building up to this WrestleMania. And I'm like,
especially with the alternate Asuka from Japan.
Yeah, exactly. She had the Mist and everything going and all that and whatever. And I just in my eyes, I'm like, okay, cool. They're building Asuka back up. It is what it is. And then she lost.
And then she loses.
I don't know.
That made no sense to me.
It's almost like Finn, them bringing Demon Balor back, having him lose. Like, why bring back the Asuka of old just to have her lose?
Part of why I said I felt like Night 2 was a Vince McMahon WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree. I think you build Asuka and this new Asuka.
Right.
That you bring over the gimmick from Japan that she was so popular for, and everybody ate it up.
Yeah,
everybody ate it up.
That's what everybody's been waiting for. Nobody wanted the bubbly Asuka; they wanted the mean, vicious Asuka.
Right,
the mean,
and that's the Asuka we should have gotten.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think Bianca should have dropped the title at WrestleMania to Asuka.
I
Even
agree.
if she wins it later, I still think it would have. It could have. I think it would have helped develop her character also. You lose it to Asuka, then you're on the chase, right? Then you're chasing her.
Yeah,
and
and
she's
it's something. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
I was going to say it's something that Bianca's character we've never got to see out of her.
Right.
Like she came up and it was instant success, instant Royal Rumble. Like we saw, okay, the loss to Becky in 26 seconds or whatever it was. But then it was like soon after that, she was champ again. Like we haven't really seen like her be on the chase for a while. Like all we've seen her as is champion.
Yeah. But, we went through a lot of the matches that, we thought were highlighted matches. Now, I have this thing that I want to try for this show called Best and Worst.
Mm-hmm.
And for WrestleMania, we're going to have a few topics. We're going to do best entrance, best finish, and best overall performance that you guys think, right? So the first one is the best and the worst entrance of both nights. I'll go first. I think the Demon entrance was the best entrance of the night. I think the crowd ate it up, loved every second of it. For reasons that we've already discussed.
Right.
The Demon is such a loved character by everybody, especially on the indie scenes and all that stuff. And I think it was just great for the fans to finally see the Demon again.
Mm-hmm.
The worst entrance, I think, was Logan Paul. I thought it was so stupid that they had him start on the ground,
Right.
lift him up, go like 4 feet, and then drop him again. It was just stupid to me. Kev, what do you think?
I got to go with the best entrance has got to be, it just brought me back to my childhood, man, that Rey Mysterio, his honor of Eddie Guerrero. Dude, when I heard I lied to you, that steel, man, it just brought me back. I have to go with that one. And I agree with you on this Logan Paul thing. Why have the man start on the ground? And what did he flew over just a tiny section of crowd just to land right back onto the on-ramp? To me, it's like they could have definitely done that a little bit better. Like you said, it kind of tried to give you that HBK vibes where he kind of, rolled to Mania a couple years back. But it just
and if you're asking me, I think that's pretty disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of what they were 100%. Hoping for, was to give heat for that. But I don't think people took it the way they were supposed to. I don't know. I thought it was lame.
And he kind of looked awkward up there. Like he looked like he was a little bit like, oh man, why am I here? What, this entrance is kind of lame. Even in his eyes, it looked like it was lame to him. Like he did not play the, that role of coming out like HBK, with the confidence in his eyes.
Right. And the dancing in the air and all that stuff.
Yeah. He just looked up there like, I'm here. He said a bunch of random stuff on the mic, BS that didn't make any sense either. And it's just, it was not there.
No.
The buildup wasn't there. The entrance wasn't there. I see what they tried to do. It just didn't work.
Vince?
I think, I have to agree. The Demon entrance was, for all the reasons we've already talked about. The worst entrance, Logan Paul definitely is there. The only other one I might put up there with it is Theory, just because it was really just a normal entrance for him. You see a lot of that's what WrestleMania is about, is these crazy entrances, over the top entrances. And especially for somebody who they're building to be this blue chipper, this dude that is the next big thing. And I thought it was a very missed opportunity for him to have a big entrance.
I agree. Did you happen to see John Cena run behind Austin Theory at the top of the ramp when the camera was panned on?
So the first time he came out, I turned to my wife. I said, "Did you see somebody run by?"
Yeah, dude, it was John Cena.
And then I found out later it was John Cena. Yeah. But I was like, "Who the hell just ran past?"
Speaking of that match, dude, are they trying to perceive him as a Ric Flair, dirtiest player in the game, on top of John Cena, attitude, ruthless?
I don't think they really know what they're doing with him.
That's what I'm saying. I have no idea. It's crazy to me, that biting scene. I'm like, are they really having him fake?
So Redbeard, that's my dude, Alex. He's a big wrestling fan. And he's, like I said, I want to bring on another fan just to kind of get their perspective and, see what they think. So, Alex, what do you think the best and worst entrants were of the night?
Of the night? Of both nights?
Yep.
So, You know, me and my brother were watching this, and I personally liked the Rey Mysterio entrance. I thought it had really good. Well, actually, I'm gonna say both of them, Ray and Dom. Dom's was absolutely hilarious coming out
Yeah.
with the car. It gave me like, you guys ever see The New Guy, the movie? The New Guy?
Yep.
Gave me
Good
that
call.
vibe majorly.
Good call.
And then Ray coming out in the Lowrider with Eddie's song and everything that hit all the nostalgia it needed. With Snoop driving. Probably my favorite one.
Man.
Worst one. I had so high of hopes for the Demon, and it fizzled. It fizzled
man.
hard.
I thought the Demon was the best.
No, I disagree. Like
I think a close second was probably Asuka, just because I love her gimmick.
All them
I love
Asukas,
it. It was sweet. Yeah,
right
it was
on.
awesome.
I was digging it.
I think the Rey Mysterio thing was
big
good.
ass coat.
Yeah, the giant coat. And then that thing he was wearing under it, that was a tribute to Shawn Michaels, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought so. I just, because it was pink, I didn't know if it was.
Yeah, because he had the chaps on too.
Yeah, and that's why I put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, that's what did it for me too.
Yep. So it was, I mean, Seth Rollins' entrance is always great because the fans make it great. Like,
we're talking about entrance. Sorry, go ahead.
Even when Daniel Bryan was hot, right?
Right.
It was not to the level of Seth Rollins. I don't believe. I think that the fact that there's videos all over social media of after events, people leaving the arenas for 20 minutes out the building, just singing Seth Rollins' song is insane to me.
Look, I would tell you, I went to the house show in Rockford, and a lot of people think a lot of that's TV noise for his song. It's not. The crowd, like, we're in Rockford, nowhere near the amount of people that you get for these TV shows. It's a much smaller venue. And Theory was trying to talk. He couldn't even talk for like 5 minutes because literally the crowd would not stop singing Seth Rollins' song.
Yep. I love it. It's like we talked about during that segment. I think Rollins is just a freaking treasure for the wrestling world.
I guess the other, before we go on, the other entrance I'd throw up there is Cody Rhodes, just because I love his pyro.
Yeah, and the crowd gets into him also.
Right.
And before we move on, what did you guys think about Dom's entrance?
We just talked about that.
We
I
were
liked
talking about that. It was hilarious.
No, that's all right. I think it was cool.
It was perfect for his character.
Right.
I agree.
I said prison.
Yeah.
I've told this to so many people.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the Dominic Mysterio character. And it really upsets me because we talked about it during the Rhea segment that we think this is going to be the end of the Judgment Day. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the end of Rhea and Dom.
Right.
But I don't think it's as good without the Judgment Day. I think the Judgment Day is such a good group.
Right.
Damian Priest is dead if the Judgment Day is done. He is gone. There is nothing for him.
Well, he's dead right now anyways. So.
Right, he's just falling.
He's kind of just floating through the roster. Like,
right. I mean, he's that guy. He's like in DX, right? When DX had X-Pac, who really did nothing but just get his ass kicked. That's kind of what Damian Priest is. But
he's a little more physically fit than X-Pac was.
I mean, that's 100% true.
That's true too. Yeah.
The next topic is best and worst finish to a match. What match was the best ending in terms of the fans were into it, the match was great, and that just it hit all the marks to finish a match? And what was the worst one that you guys thought? I'll go first. I personally thought that the Omos and Brock Lesnar match was awful. I think it was one of those matches we talked about earlier where they just had to fill the card, and that ended up being it. So that's my worst. My best finish, easily Sammy and KO. The theatrics and the poetic justice, the storytelling, to have Sammy and Jay in the ring at the end, 3 haluva kicks, Sammy gets the pin, crowd erupts, you end WrestleMania 1 with that kind of a emotional jump, I think was the best finish to the match of the night.
So I'll say the best, I think I really liked the end of the Uso match and Sami Zayn for the storytelling, but I think the best just pure end to the match was Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. That match was so good, and when she hit the Riptide from the top rope,
Yeah.
like it was such a cool move. Like just everything.
You knew
about
it had
that
to be
finish.
something like that to end the match.
Yeah, like, and then the worst, definitely Brock Lesnar and Omos. I just, I spoke about it earlier. The match was all Omos, and then you've built him up to be this machine, this monster, and then a German suplex and an F5, and he's done.
Right.
Like-
and then Monday night he's fighting
He's a big boy.
who'd he fight on Monday? Mustafa Elias. Yeah.
Elias,
What?
Jobber
Talk
match.
about another guy who just died.
Well,
on
that
the
was that
roster.
match. They said that Omos didn't even know he was wrestling. He was in catering, and somebody was like, "You got to go change."
Yeah.
Well, dude, Elias died because they decided they should bring him back as his fake brother.
You're right.
Well, what do you mean
And
fake
that didn't
brother?
work.
What do you
Yeah,
mean?
right. Zeke,
What do you mean fake
Zeke,
brother?
bro, I still Zeke out.
I
What do
think
you
they're
mean?
related.
I do too. Hold on.
Well, no, I thought
Twins,
Elias
bro.
died the moment they had him throw that guitar into the fire during that vignette that they
Yeah.
never mentioned again.
Yeah.
The one vignette they made for him, and then that was it.
Right.
Kev, best and worst finish to a match.
I gotta say the worst, just because it makes me so mad every time. It's just I feel like that Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes match should have ended in a clean victory if Roman Reigns was gonna win. I don't agree with the fact that the bloodline always has to interrupt. Like it's yeah, I get the whole story behind the bloodline. Yeah, that's your family. They're always gonna be there. They're gonna be there to support you. You know, they got your back. You know, it is what it is. But it's like they always perceive Roman to be this such big guy. You know, he's the guy, the top guy. Why can't he ever just win one match by himself? You know what I mean?
Right.
I agree. I
should be
think
able
if
to-
you were going to have all those interferences, Cody should have won the match.
Well, especially for that match, like it's at WrestleMania. It's what everything's built up to. Now you could technically say Cody got cheated out of the win because of all the interference and everything. So then the next night on Raw, that should have been the first thing that was brought up was I need another match because of all the interference instead of a tag match. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it kind of was when he said he wanted the rematch. Like,
Yeah,
Don't
but I
think
mean, I don't
about-
think they focused on it enough. That was your opportunity to get people still involved in this story.
that's true.
And
You know how they
Especially
just
if you're going to
flopped.
build it as Cody overcoming it, then he should have lost clean.
Right.
Like he said, it wasn't really like built up enough. Like they said rematch and then quickly changed it to okay, let's do a tag team match, and that just kind of became irrelevant in the win, and you didn't even really think about it by the end of the night. Oh, he asked for a rematch. No, we're here.
Yeah, definitely couldn't tell you who won that match.
I'm pretty sure it didn't even start.
Yeah,
I,
it did not.
I don't know.
No, it never even started.
I think Vince thinks the fans
Yeah.
won that match, and that's wrong. Boster, what do you think best and worst finishes were?
Well, y'all, I was gonna say that I thought Roman and Cody was the best finish. It's building up for that clean finish to have it. Probably
Right.
at Roman Road 3, The bloodline does always interfere, so it was kind of expected. But I think the fact that Roman won just threw everybody.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
that's what kept them all into that ending. The worst one, Dom and Ray. Dom should have won. Ray
I
should have
agree with
done. Ray's too old to win.
And maybe not
to
even
do it.
done. Maybe not even done, but I still think that Dom should have won that because like we talked in the pre-show, this was an opportunity for them to build the Judgment Day as
Yeah.
serious contenders, serious threat to the roster, and they just blew it.
Flopped
And they
it.
could have built Dom Bad Bunny. They could have built that just by Bad Bunny interfering. Dom didn't have to lose because of it. Like he could have won and then been like, "Oh, I won, but I need to take care of this Bad Bunny thing."
Right. Like I
Right.
get it. The fans wanted Ray to win, right? You got a situation there where he was cost the win by Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Whatever. I guess it's what it is. I like that one too as one of the worst. Also.
Yeah.
But last topic of the night, the best and worst performance. Now this can be a match. This can be a single person's performance. I'm going to start with Kev. Or worst performance.
Worst performance. I'm gonna have to roll with the Balor and Edge match just because of the fact of the way it ended. I don't like the way that they had to rush the ending there. I don't like the way that Finn got hurt. To me, that
Mistakes happen.
exactly, it was built up so much, and that should have been the match of WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, or at least like
and
the
it just wasn't there.
Yep.
And then now, if you're gonna go best route, I gotta go Rhea, man. I'm sorry, but that performance was that was
Hey, you
great.
ain't gotta apologize to me, man.
That match was amazing to me, man. And Mike was joking with me the other day. He's like, you and Angelo could sit in a room together and just talk about Rhea, because I told him like Rhea's one of the most beautiful women on that roster, dude. But I gotta go with Rhea, man. Rhea and Charlotte, best match.
Yeah, I agree with that. Voster?
So I'm gonna go worst first, and I'm gonna say that the Damage Control and Tag Team Women's Champion Trish and Lita have no business being in that ring anymore either.
I forgot about how bad that match was.
Did you
I forgot
remember
it was
that
even
poetry
there.
in motion?
It was
Like,
awful.
Corey Graves was like, "Oh, she's going for." I mean,
What? Trish was way too close. It was just
Right.
it was just bad. The whole thing was bad.
Yeah, agreed.
So this is also going to be a kind of a hot take. I'm actually going to go away from WrestleMania, and Angelo's going to get mad at me for this. But Stand and Deliver, the opening match, was probably the best performance of all of WrestleMania.
I mean, it's WrestleMania weekend, so I'll accept that answer. We
The
haven't talked
women's ladder
any
match
Stand and
was-
Deliver. If I'm being honest, I have not really watched NXT much since Adam Cole left. I just think that he was on a different level for that roster personally. But I did watch the match because Voster made me want it. He's like, you need to watch it. Watched it. It was one of the best matches of the weekend. So, Vince?
I think best performance, I think I'm gonna have to go with Charlotte.
Yeah.
I think
Agreed.
not necessarily the match was really good, but I'm gonna go with her specifically as best performance. I think she at times doesn't I feel like she doesn't give a lot in her matches sometimes, and the other person has to do a lot. I think she really, really did a great job putting Rhea on that next level. And that match was so good back and forth. I think she really bought in to Rhea being in that spotlight, which isn't always the Charlotte thing to do. So I'm going to go with her as the best performer. And the worst, I think the worst specifically, I got to go Lita. She's just so hard to watch in the ring now. Trish is not much better, but Lita's just from what Lita used to be. She's so slow and rough to watch in the ring now.
Right? She's just clunky.
Yeah, she just looks awkward and slow. And I'm sorry, I know what they were going for. It does nothing for me seeing Lita have matches. Lita of old, sure.
If this was 15, 20 years ago,
right.
Well, yeah,
but who she is now in her life, I just can't. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't see the point.
And her finishers, if you obviously everybody saw them, but dude, the Lita Salt and the Twist of Fate, what was that?
She just looks so awkward. Her first week back, I was like, okay, she's a little rusty. She's not gonna get it back. She just where she's at in her life and what she's, some of the choices she made throughout her life, her body just isn't where it used to be. And it's just,
you're right.
It's just painful to watch. So those are my best and worst.
All right.
So that's how your deal with WWE, Lita and Trish did, from what I read.
I heard that there's supposed to be a situation where Trish costs them the tag team.
Yeah, and her and Becky feud for
SummerSlam, right?
Me too.
Which, it's not bad. I think that match can be good. What I think happened in the Lita Trish match, and that's not my worst performance, but what I think happened was there was too many bodies flying around. Neither of them felt comfortable. Yeah. The other ones tried to make it work, but it just didn't. It didn't sync up well.
Before you go, can I add one more worst performance?
Absolutely.
And I might get a lot of flack for this, but I'm not a big in-ring Cody Rhodes fan.
Ooh.
I know he's like the hot thing, but I feel like he's another guy that's got 3 moves, 5 moves, and
Yep.
he's very stiff in some of those moves.
Yep.
And I feel like you're in the main event of WrestleMania, night 2, the biggest stage of them all. Only 2 of you get to be in this match.
Mhm.
I didn't think his in-ring performance lived up to main event WrestleMania expectations.
I agree. I think so. I'm not the biggest Cody Rhodes fan. I think he's overrated. I think the hype was only the hype because he was a free agent, and
Mhm.
that's the thing that's happening right now. I mean, look at AEW. All they do is bring people in.
Right.
They don't develop many characters. They do some, but overall, it's just debut after debut after They just did it tonight.
Right.
They had 4 guys, 3 new guys show up on the
Yeah.
show. Like, I get it. You're following WrestleMania, so you want to make a splash,
Right.
but I digress on that. My worst performance has to be Shane O'Mac.
Oh, yeah.
That man,
Bro, he got hurt.
I don't
you can't hold
care.
that against
You know
him.
why he got hurt? Because he's
That
old as
quad fell
hell.
apart.
He's old as hell, and he ran down a 20-mile entrance ramp.
Yeah.
Right.
At
But how
60
about
years
the
old,
mid?
his body tapped out halfway down that ramp.
Yeah.
How
His body
about
was like,
Snoop Dogg
"Hey,
saving the show?
I don't know
He
what
was
you're doing.
trying.
The difference
about-
is when Shane came back the first time, he
What-
didn't fight
what
right
first
away,
time?
right?
What
He-
first time?
Like when he came back when Stephanie got that dumb award from Vince and whatever, that was
That-
a
wasn't
shock. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, Shane's back," because he was gone and nobody talked about him.
Wasn't that 2016 when he went and jumped off the top of the steel cage?
Yeah.
Or the,
Yeah,
sorry,
Kevin
the Hell in a
Owens?
Cell? Hell in a Cell, yeah.
Or no, The Undertaker.
Yeah.
One of
I think
them.
It was that match, yeah.
Or when he jumped off the thing on the test.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which time?
Or when he got hit with the kendo stick and
Right.
fell backwards. And
No.
but I think that I get what they were trying to do, a surprise, and it didn't work. I think other than Shane, worst performance probably would go with
Snoop Dogg's people elbow.
Hey,
I was gonna say,
because
that
it's
was
so
gonna
bad.
be a runner up for me for best performance.
Oh,
Just-
he was
just
so
because of
bad.
this. Just because of the fact that like Snoop had no plan on that happening. Somebody was like, "Yo, Shane's jacked up.
Right.
Jump
Go
in there,
do something." And he was like,
Boom.
"All right, man, I'll go handle this."
But I've seen him in the ring before. He's just always like that. He's so
Yeah.
unathletic.
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
The part
The
when
dude's
he
a
threw his glasses,
rapper
it
who
got me.
smokes
It
weed
got me.
all day.
I know.
I mean, but all right, so my best performance of the night. I'm gonna say
Right, drum roll, please.
I think it's a tie
The way he's building it up here.
between Rhea and Rollins. I think those two stood out. I've just fangirled all over both of them this whole night.
Literally.
I have. I mean, hey,
biased on Rhea, or is that just because
No, he's biased on Rhea. He's
I was about
fangirled
to
over
say.
Rhea for
Well,
like a year.
So, like, I think y'all were talking about.
I
it
like
earlier.
Rhea when she was in NXT. So
Y'all were
It's been
talking
more than a
about
year.
Seth's match earlier. I think for best performance, you're kind of overlooking Logan.
no, I
he
think Logan is a
does put on
spot
show
champion.
every time he comes on.
If you were
Oh,
like, "Hey, man, we're gonna give a championship belt to the person with the best spots," Logan Paul is the guy to win that.
The best spots.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
look at
the-
this. We
the
got a
best
comment
couple
from
moves.
Big Mike. The best performance was
McAfee.
Pat McAfee giving the Miz an amazing punt. I think Pat McAfee is also somebody like Logan Paul, where the dude is just an athletic weirdo. Like
Yeah,
you would look at him and say, "No shot, this dude can do some of the things that he's done in the ring. Backflip off the top rope, land it. Like it's
Well, I mean,
crazy."
all you have to do is watch the War Games match from NXT. Like
Yep.
the dude is serious athletic.
Yep.
So
Oh,
I
He was the punt heard around the world.
absolutely hyped up the night. I agree. I think you know what I think the best performance was? Michael Cole when Pat McAfee showed up. Michael Cole.
So They say like he never knows that Pat McAfee's going to be there.
Yeah.
Like
why.
they legit keep it a secret. He said the last time he came out, not WrestleMania, the time before that, like it
Yep.
came up on it. He got a text from Triple H and I forget who else. They have like a little chat group, and it came up like something about like, "Are you ready?" or whatever. And he was like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh.
And then all of a sudden, Pat McAfee's music hit.
All right, boys. Well, I want to thank everybody. We had a lot of comments in the chat tonight, a lot of views. It was awesome getting to talk wrestling. You know, Turtle and I have been wanting to do a wrestling show for 2.5 years.
Since we did a show with D'Lo,
With D'Lo, yeah, before
down the dial.
three WrestleManias ago, right
Yeah.
now, yeah. So, because that was our third pre-show
Right.
that we had done together, and now that I have a wrestling show on this network, I think it's awesome, especially with the people that we have here. A lot of die-hard, long-term wrestling fans. Good talk. I know people wrestling, blah blah. I don't care. I enjoy it. You can watch your soap operas or your superhero movies, and all that stuff's fake too. So,
Well, that's what I mean. It's always funny when people are like, it's fake. And I'm like, yeah, so are movies.
right. But
Right,
we go watch
Spider-Man's not really running the streets.
right. But anyways, man, on that note, oh wait, hold on. We got one last comment. Let's see. Hit the like and subscribe. I was just about to get there.
Hey,
This guy cut me off before I could even say what I needed to say. I'm taking over for Tarbell here, and I don't even get the opportunity to end the show like him. How
Yeah,
rude.
Tarbo leaving is why this show's at almost 2 hours.
Before you end this, though, I gotta say something quick here. Do you guys really think that they're gonna break up the Judgment Day if they're already leading up to a new thing with the Legado del Fantasma? Sorry if I say that wrong, but
I don't know if the LWO thing is gonna stick. I think
Especially
it was
with
just-
Vince in charge.
Right, I
If
think
you didn't notice, they were missing from Raw yesterday.
Vince hates
yeah, a lot of
Mexicans,
people
man.
were though.
The Mexicools.
Right.
I
Like,
was gonna
he
say,
just does
pretty soon
not
they're
like
gonna be riding
Mexicans
out
at
on
all.
some wine beers.
Alex and I talked about this in the car when we were
Couple times.
going down to Chicago for a day, and
Couple
we talked about how Vince that was my take. Vince hates Mexicans. Like, if you look at Chavo, what he did to Chavo's career, Eddie is lucky that he was so over with the fans.
Right.
If Eddie doesn't die, Ray doesn't get the push that he
Right.
gets. Like,
Right.
then you got Mexicools coming out on riding lawnmower. Like,
Right.
come on, man. But anyways, I
so we're
digress
all-
on that. We are going to end the show because I need to keep Tarbill proud.
Yeah.
So
He
go
beats
ahead,
both of us.
everybody go like, subscribe to our YouTube page. Just go to YouTube, Undefeated Sports Network. You'll find us there. Hit the bell. You'll know every time we come on. You can find us on Twitter at undefeatedsn21. You can find me on Twitter at SportCourtAC. Turtles is down there.
Turtles take.
The other two guys need to get on Twitter so that they can have a handle.
Maybe.
I just started a TikTok too.
I got one of those.
So I got a TikTok because I was doing some research. The algorithm's better there than anywhere else.
Oh,
But
is it?
Anyways,
Oh.
I want to thank everybody for jumping on, and we're gonna try to bring this show to you guys once a week. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next week.
I'm undefeated. I came to fight for the love of the